today what I'm looking at is a wee game. It's just been released on Steam, on the Greenlight it was, and it's called Space Engineers. Now, this game looks so good. I'm really excited about this game. It's a bit like, well, some people have been comparing it slightly to StarMade, and it is slightly in that it's made up of blocks. You see here. Similar to StarMade, but I mean this game is about as different from StarMade as Minecraft is different to Worm. If any of you don't know the comparison, Minecraft, as I'm sure some of you know, you build it with wee blocks. You can just chop down a tree, turn it into wood, build a house out of that. Whereas with likes of Worm, if you want to build a house, you have to set a frame for a wall, then you have to chop down a tree, then you have to chop that tree into smaller logs, and you have to turn that log into planks, and you have to get nails, and so it's a lot more complex, and this game seems to be going that way now. At the minute it's just stuck on creative mode, which is obviously you just have block. I don't know what that means. Okay, no, not enough memory to add. Okay, so let's see. I don't know. Let's just make a slight adjustment. I think I may have just had the settings up a wee bit too high there. Let's try that again. There we go. So like this, it's you just place the block and the block places, but this is just creative mode. There is another mode, they haven't released it just yet, whereby you can, if you place a block, it just places a frame, and then you have to use these tools, welder, drill, grinder, all that there. You have to use them to actually build it. Now this in itself is fantastic, because multiplayer, it's not in at the minute, but it will be coming in. Multiplayer means it'll force you to work together, in that, you know, if you're trying to build a wee small ship like that, you can probably do it by yourself without getting into too much trouble. But if you try and build something like that over there on your own, you can have the frame laid out, you're going to be building it, and it'll be so easy for someone just to come by, shoot you, and nick all your stuff. So that it forces you to work together in a team, or in a faction, or in some sort of guild such scenario, to maybe work together to build a community large ship. So all of you work together to build that. Some of you maybe flying around in wee ships like this to defend it, and then once you have got that built, you can maybe go get more materials, and then end up building like a community space station for your faction, and then from there it gives you like a safe space to build your own large ships. So you know, it's more of a progressive type thing that sort of forces you to work together in teams. And yeah, I quite like that idea, because realistically, if you were out in the middle of space trying to build something, you're going to want friends. You're not going to shoot the neck every person you see. So just hop in here. So this here is an example of this is an example of some of the smaller ships you can make here. The one I'm flying at the moment, you can see the cockpit. It's all highly polished. You can see the controls there. You can actually see your person in it. There is weapons on this. Let me just see. They're there, but again, this game's quite early alpha, and it's just not. They're just not functioning just at the minute. But it is on their to-do list. As far as I'm aware, they have got the weapons working. They're just trying to bug fix between themselves before they put that out on mass release. Now, another thing that I love about this game is the physics. It is actually quite realistic, in that if you have a load of thrusters on the back and you start going forward, if you don't have thrusters on the front, you've got nothing to slow you down. So, and the same with the sides and the top and the bottom. So for example, I'll tell you what I'll do. Just hop out here, and if I get rid of these thrusters on the top, I hop back in, and if I start going up and I let go of that, the ship just keeps going, because there's no thrusters on the top to stop. So what I have to do is I have to turn face down the way, so that my rear thrusters are then facing the direction that I was moving. And the same. Oops. Yeah, there is gravity in this, as you just seen, but it's artificial, and if you fall off the end, you'll fall down until you're out of the gravity field, and then your jetpack will automatically activate. So yeah, that's an example of those there. That's the gravity generators in there. Now, another thing which a lot of people like, and I find absolutely fantastic, I just lost my ship on it. Go over and get that actually. Could use this. Is the collisions. The blocks themselves are not just static; they're changeable. What I mean by that is, if you crash into something, I'm going to harp back to StarMate here. If you bump into something, you just bump into it, you can fly off. In this, not so much, as I'll show you in a second. So just go back a wee bit, just to get myself some momentum. So what actually happens is whenever you hit something, the blocks actually distort and warp, and they look damaged, and they look bent, and they look deformed. And that, I think, is maybe where they're going to bring in the game periodically auto saves. That's where I think maybe the grinder tool that I showed you earlier, I think that's maybe where that's going to come into effect, so that, you know, before you can actually repair a block. Just get in here, just show you the damage. Okay, so actually not a lot of damage, but, well, there, as you can see, it was a bad example. It did very little damage to that actually, but there's an example. You know, that there, it's all dented in and bent and damaged from the collision there, and a wee bit other right there. Bad example there, didn't get up enough momentum, such a shame. But yeah, that's where I think that the grinder, that there's going to come into effect. That maybe, you know, before I could actually delete this and repair it, I would have to use maybe the grinder or the welder or something to fix it. You know, before maybe could attach other blocks onto it, 'cause obviously blocks can break completely, the bend, distort, and the break. Just show you this other wee ship over here. So that's a smaller ship, and this obviously is an example of the space stations. Now, the thing that I like most about the fact that these bend and distort, if you ever play, and I know I keep harping back to StarMate here, but if you ever played StarMate on a multiplayer server, you find ships that are derelict. You know, maybe people have stopped playing the game or stopped playing this particular server, and their old ships are there, and maybe they're battered, they've got blocks blasted out of them and all that there. With this, the ships are going to look properly damaged. I mean, very badly distorted, because obviously they don't have bends and they don't have breaks. So whenever you pick up a derelict like ship, it's going to be a lot more difficult to actually repair it. Instead of just plugging out a few blocks, you have to get it, you have to use a grinder and stuff like that, and welder to fix it. Sorry, that thing I just went into there, that's the cockpit version of these ships. These are the larger ships, and they're much slower. As you can see, I mean, that's me turning there, that's me moving the mouse. You can steer with the arrow keys and the WASD keys. So WASD keys give you your momentum, and then the arrow keys to steer, which I find a wee bit handier. So what I'm going to do is just shoot here. So these are the larger class ships. These are ones that say whenever it comes into it, the like multiplayer aspect of it, you're not going to be able to build this on your own. It's going to force you to work together. And I haven't said that. I'm sure they'll probably integrate some way so that maybe with the likes of you can hire AI crew or stuff like that to defend you or some such, so that, you know, maybe it's possible for the person who doesn't like playing with other people, finds other people annoying, just doesn't like it, that they can still build up these huge ships. I'm sure there's some way they could integrate that into it, but at the minute I quite like the idea of you're going to have to work together. Now, at the minute, the only thing you can do, if they put in multiplayer right about now, the only thing you can do to damage each other is ram into each other, which I like as an option. You know, your ship's got damage, you're battered, you're probably going to lose this fight, just ram straight into the side of them, just to try and do a bit of damage and annoy them. Now, I don't want this, I would hate to see that becoming the only aspect, because, you know, I would like to see that dogfights are an actual possibility, instead of you constantly having to worry, just, oh no, I don't want to build maybe a ship like this where it's got this sort of wee strut because it's easy to get round and broke off. I wouldn't like to see that, because, you know, it's, again, realistically, it's not what would happen if you're properly, now I know obviously it's not real, and it's not meant to be 100% realistic, but, you know, you're not going to spend ages and then just ram your ships into each other. So I'd maybe like to see like some sort of shielding of some shape or form that maybe requires massive amounts of power, but, you know, can block against most things. Yeah, so here, say I just rammed in these ships into each other, which is the first thing anyone does in this game. As you can see, metal's all warped and distorted and bent and damaged, and it does look properly damaged. So I'll just carve myself in here. So look, even at that, because they're bent, that's actually just part of this ship, it's being bent inwards, and it's literally blocking me access in there. So if you were in a ship, maybe you were, I don't know, repairing something down there, maybe your power reactor got damaged, you had to go and repair it, and you were trying to get back into the cockpit, and you found it was blocked by this, you'd have to get your welder out and cut through it. Of course, in multiplayer, in creative mode, I can just click and go out. The other thing I'm looking forward to, just for these sakes, I was in a ship, this one actually, so it was, and I had put the cockpit at the front. Now I was flying the ship around, and I didn't put enough thrusters on the sides, so I was going sideways, and there was an asteroid just probably about there, and I hit it and it cut this in two, and it completely cut me off because all my power was in the back end of the ship, which was then disconnected, and it floated off. Well, I tell you, it didn't float off. It had engines and gyroscopes and what's not in it, so it stopped, it stayed where it was. The part that I was in didn't, so it just floated off, and it would constantly float. In this, that's not a problem because, you know, let me see, get a reactor, plonk it down. It's a large one. I could get a couple of thrusters, put them in there, and stabilize the ship. But that's in creative. If I was doing that in, say, the likes of, you know, survival mode, if I didn't have the resources, if I didn't have enough resources maybe to build everything, I could only build one or two things, I mean, the ship would be stuck. You wouldn't be stuck as such, but you know, you'd be constantly moving away. You'd have to either ditch the ship or maybe try and send a message to someone who you know is maybe in the area, you know, maybe a clan member or something like that, and you'd have to call them for help and say, look, my ship's floating away, I need a bit of help here, I need some materials, which is something that I'm quite looking forward to, because this game has so much potential. I would love to see shielding being put into it, just in that, you know, this in itself is good, but it wouldn't take long for a few rounds to blast through you, so that, like, you know, big ships like this with big hull and all that they're slow, they're clunky, so maybe able to make a ship that's, you know, maybe not as heavily armoured, but has a lot more power reactors and stuff like that, so it's got shielding and whatnot. And, you know, maybe if you start getting attacked and your shields start getting heavy damage, you have to divert power from maybe like some of the larger thrusters so that you can take more damage and sort of likes that there. I would love to see that sort of brought into it. This here, this is purely cosmetic at the minute, but this, as far as I'm aware, is what they're wanting. This is essentially what it's going to look like whenever you're in survival mode, whenever you're building it, this sort of scaffolding that you're going to be welding onto to make it a more complete block, and then eventually have it built into this. So I think that's what they were trying to show off here, was that sort of what it's going to look like when you're actually building. And it's, the possibilities are endless. I mean, what you do is just create a new ship, small, large, whatever. Go for small for the minute. Just go in, let me see, just a wee reactor, gyroscope. The gyroscopes are very, very important in that. So I'll just show you here quickly. If I knock that, that isn't going to stop. That's just going to keep going and going and going. Same as any debris that flies off ships whenever they collide into each other or whenever they get shot at or whatever. They just fly off. So just going to throw together a wee ship here, and we'll be back as soon as I have it finished. Show you about this. Okay, so I'm just putting the finishing touches on here. It's nothing special by any means. It's literally a very, very basic ship. I'm just doing this just so I can show you around a few wee bits and pieces before we just. So, as you can see, very basic ship. Does not look anything special, but as you can see there, you've got thrusters going in all directions, up, down, left, right, front and back. In behind here I've got gyroscopes and reactors to power everything. Cockpit at the front, everything I need. So if I just hop in here, this should fly. Yep. And the ability to turn like this is the gyroscope. That's what allows you to do that. That's why that's kind of needed. So one of the main points in this game is not only military in that, you know, you've got large ships armed up with torpedoes and all sorts. There's also going to be mining into it, as you can see. Let me see if I can find a suitable asteroid. There's some asteroids around here that you can see. You know, see there. See the sort of weird patch there? It's minerals. You can actually go in, you can mine them. I'll just show you that. But you can get, like, you know, mines and drills and stuff for your ships. So you can actually do mining, which is obviously how you get most of your materials and stuff. So that's going to open it up, I think, a bit more in sort of a trading aspect, in that, you know, you can maybe have something like this player made that's in a rich area, and their clan sort of controls sort of most of the minerals around here. You'd have to go to them, you'd have to trade, so you need some sort of credit system. I'm sure they'll bring something like that in, or even just trade with other minerals. Maybe something they need that they can't get, you trade it with them to get more stuff. And I don't know, there's so many possibilities with this game. It's just so excited about it. At the minute, their plan is to release sort of updates on a weekly basis, or as close to it as they can, but just sort of small updates, nothing major at the minute. Large updates, and say, it'll take a wee bit longer. But no, this game, there's so much potential to it. As more updates come out, I'll be doing a lot more videos on it, because it's fantastic. Might even do a few builds if you'd like to see me doing some builds, maybe like a wee bit more pretty than the thing I just made. Please let me know. And yeah, the game's on Steam at the minute. I think it's $11.99, and it's well worth it, because if this game's done right, it'll be absolutely fantastic. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.